Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And I'm really excited about today's guest. It's Amanda Zink. Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
It's great to have you on this podcast. So Amanda, I'm gonna read your bio, and then we'll start talking. So you are a 3-generation trades professional. And I love it because I'm doing a whole series about women in the trades and interviewed several very powerful women, and you are definitely one of them. There are 3 generations, and it's HVAC company, right? You own an HVAC company together with your brother.
Yep.
And you are, part of the bio. It's balancing growing a business, motherhood, and marriage.
Yep.
Amazing. And you realize that leadership isn't a destination, it's a journey, and you keep learning about it. And it's a journey of constant growth and improvement.
Very much so. Yes.
Yeah. And we are talking today to share your story and hopefully inspire our listeners that are listening and are, in the process of growing a business, of balancing, juggling, also parenthood, marriage, whatever, relationships, life. And it's always good to hear from others how they did it. So let's start with your journey. So how did you get involved with the family business?
So I actually never planned to be involved in the family business. It was not something that I wanted to do. My grandfather was originally in the trades. He recruited my dad, and they worked together in Southern California. My grandfather was really unwilling to make my father a partner of that company. So in 1990, my dad and my mom moved our family to Lake Havasu and started the company that I run now, which is Air Control Home Services. And in those early years, my mom would actually go out and they were a new construction company. She would go out and do new construction with him, doing rough-ins and that sort of thing. But as a kid, from a young kid, through high school, I just saw how hard it was, how much work my parents put into it, the stresses and strains of it. And it just was something that I never really wanted to be a part of. It never really interested me. So I moved away to college and got my degree in accounting. And on the day of my graduation, my parents were there, and my dad approached me about coming to work for him. I actually had a job lined up down in Phoenix to do insurance auditing. But being a stupid college student that I had racked up some credit card debt, and he was aware of that. And he said, "Hey, why don't you come home, work for me for the summer? You can live with us, pay off your credit card debt, and just have a really fresh start as you begin your life and your career." And so I agreed.
Oh, that's a friendly blackmail, right?
Correct. And the best part about it is I agreed, and I said, "That's fine, Dad, but you cannot keep me for longer than the summer. I will only stay for the summer, and then I am leaving." And this last May, it was 20 years ago. So
20 days. Okay, so we started. So this was really your first job, is to working for the family business.
Yeah, I had so my very first job really was working for the family business. And then of course, I worked through college and did a handful of things, but my first real job was working for the family business. Yep.
So how was it, Amanda? Okay, so you are the girl just fresh out of college coming into the family business. How was the experience?
It was in a lot of ways, I think that I got a start. the perfect way. Because my dad wasn't planning on me staying for a period of time, he really put me in charge of like special projects. So I didn't come in like managing anybody or really even telling anybody what to do. I was just kind of in the back office doing special projects and working through that. And as the months went on and I realized that I wasn't leaving and that I felt like I really had an impact in what I was doing and I was making a difference and getting to help my parents, which even though I didn't want to be in the family business, they had done so much for me that it was nice to give back to them. And so as that went on, I just kind of inherited different jobs. I started out as special projects, and then I moved into helping my mom with some accounting, and then moved into the install coordinator and then service manager. And so just kind of moved my way up. But it always, one of the things with my dad was he always had instilled in us a huge amount of respect for the team members here, what they do, what we're asking them to do on a daily basis. And so I think by having that instilled in me already, I came in with that and from the start just have had really good relationships with the team members here.
That's amazing. So when you started in 1990, how many employees did you have?
So my parents started it in 1990, just my mom and my dad. And my dad actually tells the story of that first year that he would take. He had the full page ad in the yellow pages and didn't get a single call through summer. Now, keep in mind, we're in Lake Havasu where the hottest temperature on record is 128 degrees, but regularly gets 118, 120. So full truck ad in the yellow pages and didn't get a single call during July, which was the hottest month then. So it was a rough start, but they were able to grow it. The hard thing is they grew it as a new construction company. So when I came on 2005, they were a new construction company and had approximately 40 to 45 employees. Well, not too long after that is when the recession hit. And so we came down to, my brother at the time was working here. So it was me, my mom, my dad, and my brother. And then there was approximately 40 to 45 employees. And at the peak of the recession, we got down to 9 employees, 4 of them being family members. So that was really tough, but it also taught us that we needed to rebuild and restructure the type of company we were, and we moved more towards a service-based and replacement-based company, which is what we are now. We do some minor new construction, but we keep it to a very minimal part of the company. And then about 10 years ago, we added plumbing, and then in the last year and a half, we've added electrical.
Wow. So now how many employees do you have?
We bounce between 75 and 80 now.
Which is very impressive on the service side. So we went from 9 to over, and growing, right? I mean, over 70 and growing. Yeah, that's incredible. What lessons did you learn during the recession?
My dad was a great leader of this company during the recession, and just we tried all kinds of, at one point we were like selling we had like a parts shop set up here and we're selling parts just because we figured people didn't have the cash to actually do some of the things. So we were trying to sell parts. I mean, we tried all kinds of different things to really drive business. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned was just watching him try to be innovative, watching him just fight tooth and nail for every dollar that we had. Even watching my mom, because she would have to call wholesalers and say, hey, I can't pay you this week, but I'm going to get you paid. And just like having to make those phone calls in that difficult time and just watching the grit and the resourcefulness really was a good lesson for me. And while it was not the same, my brother and I purchased the company from our parents in 2019, and shortly after that is when COVID hit. So, there was lessons of watching my dad and my mom go through that we were able to apply in the early part of COVID when we didn't know what was going on and we weren't running calls and trying to figure out, how we were going to keep people employed and keep them paid and do all of that stuff. So really, I think it's just you just fight, you fight.
That's very true. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then it makes you stronger, right? Because you went through it. So then you have the lessons and you do it. What are some of the advice that you will tell somebody who's listening to us right now on how to scale and grow the company correctly? Like, what are some of your successful actions?
So, when my brother and I took over the company in 2019, we were doing approximately $6.5 million. And this year we're budgeting for 20. We've bounced right up against that 20 million for the last 3 years. So we grew really fast from 2019 through 2025. We had big growth. We added a bunch of people. And
what do you attribute that growth to?
I think there's a handful of things. I think some of it actually was COVID because we were in Arizona. There's a bunch of people moving from California to Arizona. I think we have been here for a long time. We had done a lot of things right with our marketing and building the reputation. We have a great team. I think there's a ton of different things that all just kind of happened at one time. But the hardest part about it is you grow and you're growing fast and you're putting bodies into place and you're almost, I don't want to say plugging holes, but almost kind of plugging holes to keep that growth going. And then when it slows down a little bit, like it has the last couple of years, last 2 years really for us, you look back and you're like, crap, I didn't onboard this person properly. I didn't train this person properly. I didn't give them all the pieces that they need. And it's actually what led us to working with your company is realizing like we don't have these clear processes. We don't have these clear procedures in place. We don't have policies and you're almost reacting to things so fast that sometimes you don't even remember what you told somebody on how to do something. And so really my biggest piece of advice would be slow down, take a deep breath, train the people properly, put the processes into place, put the policies in place. Because when you look back a couple years later and you're like, oh crap, I have kind of a little bit of a mess I got to clean up. I wish I would have done it on the front end.
Yeah, totally. That's it. I mean, when you're growing so fast, sometimes you're just chasing it, which is fine. And you have to go and organize at the same time at the back end, just like you did. And I think what you did was very remarkable in terms of really investing the resources and the time into the process documentation. So if you had to give an advice to somebody that does not have processes, why processes are so important in a business?
Where we've gotten to, and it's always a work in progress, and I don't think that you're ever done. But we've worked a lot with our team. And so they know that they have a place they can go first to look for the answer and see, like, is the answer there? And so it allows them to do that is like, I'm going to go look and see where the answer is. It empowers them to go do that. But it also, for us, it's part of our onboarding process. Like, hey, I don't expect you to remember all of this. We're kind of fire hosing you a little bit, but here's a spot where it's at. Just remember that it's here. I don't expect you to remember exactly what the policy says or the process or the procedure, but remember it's here. And I'm really big on our brand, our mission, our vision, our guiding principles, that we are acting in a way that represent the company the way that my brother and I want it to be represented. And I think by having that stuff in place, you get this standardized approach that allows you to show up the way you want people to show up for your brand, make decisions the way you want them to make decisions. It's just huge. I wish we would have done it when my parents started the company in 1990. It would be a lot easier. If I started a new business, that's where I would start, is as we're building, putting that stuff into place. It's huge.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, obviously you need a marketing, you need to have people coming in and calling and all that, but and also to continue the marketing growing, you have and to going, not growing and growing, you need to have those processes in place, because otherwise you forget. It becomes tribal knowledge that it's not documented.
Yep. Yep. And that's some of what we were finding too, is we would have an employee leave that knew how to do something, and we didn't have it documented anywhere. You know, it wasn't clear of like, wait, I kind of have an idea of how they were doing this, but how exactly were they doing it? And or if you have somebody that's out for an unexpected reason, to be able to go look at a process and say, okay, I've got a good handle on this, I can work through this, versus like, shoot, I don't really know.
Right, that's exactly right. So if you had to talk to somebody as a business owner, they have their processes documented, but now they're going, well, how am I going to ensure that the processes are followed by all? What would you say?
You know, that's a really great question. And I think it's always a learning thing. It's that gentle correction. Like, I still get people that come to my office and they'll ask me like, hey, how do I do this? Or what's the policy on this? And it's always that correction of like, hey, well, did you check here first? Did you check suite process first? No, I didn't. Okay, go check it and then come back and let me know. And it's like, oh, hey, I found it. And I think it's kind of like when we implemented our guiding principles and our mission and our vision is, you tie it back in conversations when you have the opportunity, and in coaching conversations when things go wrong. I think it's a really great opportunity to gently tie it back to, you know, before you did that, did you check here? Or, hey, it's clear we didn't follow the policy. Are you aware that it's here? Do you want to go over it? And so I think it's not one of those things that you can just like roll them out and say, okay, we're good. You know, it's that constant kind of coaching and nudging of like, hey, go check here.
Absolutely. You know, you're an accountant. I mean, you know, your background is accounting. You think with numbers. If you had to quantify in terms of hours, in terms of % of work that was saved, or even financially, how would you convince somebody that they should have documented processes in terms of the savings or the ROI or whatever, however you can quantify it?
Oh gosh. Honestly, I don't even want to know. I mean, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, but even more than that for me, honestly, like what led me to working with your company and just looking in general, even before we decided on working with you guys, is there was a mental health factor going on of like, I'm beating my head against a wall. I am exhausted. I'm tired of answering the same questions. We're making mistakes that we shouldn't be making. People should know this. And so it almost got to a point of desperation, and not because we don't have good people. We have great people, but we hadn't done our job of getting them the support and the resources that they needed to be able to do their job properly. So for me, it really came down to my mental health and the desperation that I was feeling and my brother was feeling of like, we need to do something different. We can't keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Amanda, in terms of your leadership and where is the company going? What's your plan?
So we actually, a couple years ago, we put together what we consider our vivid vision, and in a very shortened manner is basically by 2033, we want to be $100 million company. And we have that laid out of, you know, this many employees, and we want to have a strong leadership pipeline, and we want to be extremely efficient. We want to have 5-star customer service. I mean, it's a whole thing, but we have big plans to grow this company, and that doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen. We got to put in the work for that.
It doesn't just happen. Also, you have to put the work, but you also have to put the planning. So you have the first step of like you have a plan and then you work towards it. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
And how do you balance it all? How do you balance the motherhood, the the marriage, the
Yeah.
business? How does that work?
There are days that I'm just like, oof, I don't know if I can do this. There are definitely days that are that way. My husband is a saint. He works for the fire department. So he is gone for 2 days, home for 4, gone for 2 days, home for 4. So that is a blessing and a curse. It's hard when he's gone at work. When he's home, it's great because he can run and pick up the kids and do all of that stuff. Our 2 kids both play travel baseball and travel softball, so busy lives. We have a lot going on. I think the biggest thing is just thinking through like one thing at a time. I just got to get through one thing at a time. And I have a great support staff in my brother, or support in my brother. Our staff here is a huge support. My family is a huge support. So I'm very lucky in that aspect. I'm also a person that's always kind of looking and saying, how can I do something more efficient? I always tease my dad that I think I'm just lazy, because I'm like, how can I be more efficient in doing that? But it's not easy. And I think anybody that tells you that they're leading a business and growing a family, and trying to be present for all the things and says it's easy is lying. It's not easy. It's just not.
No, it's something you just have to deal with, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's part of the game that you decided. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, talking about more efficient, of course, we're in the era of AI.
Mhm.
So how are you using automation in the business?
That's funny. ChatGPT, we do a ton with ChatGPT. But we have really been diving into like Zapier and tying things to Airtable and using different trackers there. And so, everything from looking at glue on type things for the technicians, or as I said, Zapier and Service Titan and Airtable, ChatGPT, like we really try to look at all of those different things and see like how can we make things more efficient. I spent my weekend actually building a warranty part and warranty credit tracker using Airtable. So that's pour myself a glass of wine and build some trackers.
Yeah, so it's just a continual improvement, which is
Mhm.
definitely very important.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Amanda, if people want to reach out to you and find out more and ask you questions like how do you do this and how do you do that, or find out more about the business, they're in Arizona, definitely need to use you, because obviously it's a very, very efficient company. How can they get a hold of you?
Really, the best way to get a hold of me is my email, which is amanda@aircontrolaz.com.
Awesome. So before closing, what advice would you give to our listeners if they're thinking, well, I'm too busy to document my processes, or I don't know if I really need to put organization in because production, or marketing, or doing this, doing that. What would you tell them?
You will never regret getting your processes, procedures into place. In fact, I think we spent probably a good 9 months working on ours, and we had a couple leaders that left, and so I had put ours on a pause. And in the last 30 to 45 days, I've just been thinking like we need to get back to doing that because it makes such a difference. And there's a couple areas in our company that we didn't get things documented, and I can see the holes and the gaps in there. So it is something you will never regret doing. And the sooner you can do it, the smaller that you are to get those in place. Gosh, so much easier it's going to make it when you're bigger.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being a guest on this podcast. It was fun interviewing you and finding out all this, going from the history to today and what you're doing, and you're doing a fantastic job. So good job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.